As we were surfing the web looking for more backbone style controllers, we received an email from a person at EasySMX. They reached out and asked, could we review their new mobile gaming controller called the M10? Now, this video isn't sponsored by them, but they did send this controller for me to review. So shout out to EasySMX for sending this controller my way. Now, with that out of the way, let's see what's in this box. And here we have it. This is the M10 mobile gaming controller by the company EasySMX. Let's go ahead and try to open this thing up and see what this bad boy looks like. Let's get those air gaps. There we go. Alrighty. So here we have it. Looks like we might have something inside of this box here. We do. Oh, what is this? What do we have in here? How nice. It actually comes with a charging cable. I don't think a lot of controllers that I've purchased on this channel have come with any type of cable, and it's a flat design cable too, so you don't have to worry about like things like your cables getting all knotted up. That's the design of the flat cable, kind of prevents it from getting, you know, twisted and knotted up if you kind of play with it and scrunch it all up. You'll have a hard time actually getting it tangled. And if it does get tangled, it gets pretty untangled. It gets untangled pretty easily from my experience with headphones that were flat. So this is a great feel. Nice design. Feels pretty tough. So yeah, awesome that they include that in there. All right, picking up the controller, it is very light. Right off the back, the design of the controller is pretty nice. I'm wondering how well this front does well with fingerprints. It doesn't seem like I'm getting any fingerprints at all in here, so that's good. Got a nice textured back for the grips right here. Has a lot way more texture in the back, so you know you're gonna actually grab this thing and you're gonna have that grip in the back. So that's pretty nice to have, especially when things get super sweaty and things like Call of Duty, and we got, you know, Warzone coming out pretty soon, so things are going to get pretty sweaty in those COD lobbies. Let's go ahead and remove this. So just like the backbone one, this does have the stretch to fit design for the controller, which is, in my opinion, is always going to be the best design of the of doing mobile gaming controllers out of the three, where you have a clip which connects to a full-size controller, not the best, and then you also have what the Razer had did with their first generation Kishi. But overall, you know, I'm kind of just do a little grippy grip test and really feel it, you know, just get a good idea of what this feels like. I will say overall, the clickiness of some of these buttons pretty good. The face buttons, the A, B, X, Y, definitely feel a little bit mushier than I would like, but overall, it's definitely not a horrible controller. This definitely feels really good in the hand. Has a nice ergonomic feel to it when you're actually holding the device. So what we're gonna do is actually just pop my phone in here and start playing some games and just get a good idea of how this controller is going to feel, how I feel playing certain games on here, and get this review going. So let's go ahead and do that now. So after I've used this controller for a few days now, I'm ready to talk about it. First, let's go over the design. The design of the controller is solid, and just like the other controllers I have reviewed, because it doesn't rely on battery to function, it's very light to hold in your hand. On top of being light to hold, the controller actually feels great in the hand due to the ergonomic design along with the textured grip on the back. The extendable design doesn't feel flimsy when you kind of expand it and twist it and kind of move it around, you don't really feel like it's going to break that easily. And this controller will fit iPhones from iPhone 11 all the way to iPhone 14 Pro Max with that 175 millimeter distance between each side of the controller. There are two light indicators on the face of the controller. One will be blue once you actually plug your controller into the phone, and then there's another on the bottom of that when you actually charge using the pass-through charging port on the bottom of the controller. This will shine a nice bright red. Something that is nice is that we also have a couple of cutouts near the speaker of the iPhone, allowing the sound to point towards you if you're not using Bluetooth headphones. Something I didn't expect to see on this controller is that the lightning connector can be tilted similar to how the GameSir X2 had with their lightning connector. This is great for adding that extra bit of security when removing your phone. This is something I'm actually glad to see on the controller, and I hope I see more companies implement this in their future mobile gaming controllers. Next, I want to talk about the buttons because there are a lot of buttons on this controller. First, let's go over the joysticks. They use the same style that you would find in most controllers, allowing for a full range of motion, unlike the Backbone one. And if you couldn't tell by the thumbnail, these joysticks do use Hall effect sensors, which means they use magnets instead of movable parts that can wear and tear over time. The triggers on the back also use Hall effect sensors and feel pretty good. No complaints there. Also, the bumpers are great and just add to the overall comfort when holding it. Now, staying on the top of the controller, we have two additional buttons, an M1 and an M2. These are programmable buttons that you can use to remap a certain button to the M1 or M2. These are normally found on the back of a controller near your index finger or your middle finger, but due to the small design, these were placed on top. These buttons are smaller and raised slightly higher than the bumper and are distant farther from the trigger, which is good because when focusing on the game, you can feel where these buttons are, so it does reduce the risk of accidentally pressing them. Alrighty, moving to the front of the controller, the plus and minus button are for start and back when gaming. There is a turbo button which allows you to map your button to be pressed automatically for you. When activated, this can make tasks like picking up items multiple times feel less tedious. Or if you're playing a game that requires you to shoot a lot, or for me in Diablo, using my spell multiple times, this can make it feel a little bit easier. There is also a screenshot/record button to capture those wild moments. You double click to take a screenshot and you press and hold to begin recording a video. On the right side of the controller, there is a home button which just pulls up Game Center, like most home buttons do with these mobile controllers. And then there's a settings button, which is used when trying to remap your M1 and M2 button that I talked about earlier. And just like every controller, we have the ABXY and a D-pad. I really like the ABXY buttons. I like how they're colored. And I wish other buttons on this controller actually had some color to give this controller a true identity. On the subject of these buttons, one of my complaints with them is that they're just too soft. Along with the D-pad, I feel like every other button on this controller has a nice firm press to it. And I'm not sure why these buttons feel just a little bit more mushier than I'm used to on most of these gaming controllers. And to add on to my complaints, there isn't a headphone jack on here, so you'll have to use some type of Bluetooth headphone or just play the audio from your phone. And the last, and this is an expected disappointment at this point, you can't use a case with it. So after using this controller, I will say it's definitely a solid controller with enough features to stand out over the rest. And if you're a person who plays cloud gaming services like Xbox Cloud Gaming or Nvidia GeForce Now, this controller will work with all those cloud services and more. And it feels like this controller, overall, the design is spot on. And it seems like the company actually took a minute, looked at all the controllers on the market, and took the best parts and kind of put them into this controller. Just hear me out. We have the extendable, similar design like the Backbone one, two micro programmable buttons just like the Razer Kishi V2, Hall effect triggers, and joysticks like a LEDJoy M1. Also, the tilt of the lightning connector, similar to how the GameSir X2 is, making it possibly one of the best mobile gaming controllers under $100. The crazy thing with all those features is that the price of this controller is $49.99. Also, if you are planning on getting an iPhone 15 or an iPhone 15 Pro, they did let me know that they are working on a USB-C version of this controller that will be compatible with that phone, but there is no official date on when that will be available, so I suggest you check out their website and look out for that once it gets dropped. So that's going to be the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you subscribe, and I hope you stay wild. We'll catch you in the next one. Later.